My name is Casey Carr-Jones, but I'm more affectionately known as Darth Vader, the Grim Reaper, and the Terminator. My experience in human resources so far has included recruiting, benefits, events management, but what's more unique is my extensive experience in employee relations and terminations. So let's start with a good term story. These are all true. It was my first week on the job, and we were letting go of someone due to his anger management issues. So I guess I should have anticipated this reaction a little bit better. So he starts breathing really heavily and rocking back and forth. And I'm over here like, are you hulking out right now? Like, I really don't know what to do. He throws his ID badge in my face, calls me an effing C word, and storms out, which prompts me to call the police in case he decided to come back. Another one of my favorites is at a different job, and this employee clung to his warehouse locker and wouldn't leave until security physically pried his fingers off the door. And I learned later that it was because he had a giant stash of pornography in the locker that he did not want me to see. So getting fired. Sometimes you see it coming and sometimes you don't. It could be an email from a client asking to touch base when you haven't heard from them in weeks. It could be HR calling you to say, it's Friday at 3 o'clock and calls and says, hey, can you swing over for a minute? Regardless of the warning signs, it'll happen to everyone and you get fired. I personally have fired over 100 employees in my experience and terminated more than 20 vendor relationships. And so what we're going to talk about today is how the perspective of the person doing the firing, me, can influence your behavior on the other side of the table, influence your reaction, and how your reaction can lead to positive future outcomes for yourself and really maintain your dignity. So termination conversations can vary depending on the person doing the term, can vary based on the corporate environment of the office, and also their knowledge of employment law. Now, I'm going to say termination conversation, but these meetings are rarely a discussion. The manager's made up their mind, and there's no room for debate. So I want everyone in this room to take a minute and think you're about to get fired. Right now, I'm HR, I'm your boss, I'm your boss's boss, I'm your client, you're getting fired right now. This is our meeting. What do? First thing you do is take a deep breath and concentrate. I've heard from so many people that as soon as they hear that they're being let go, they black out and forget the entire conversation. It's so critical for you to remember why you're being terminated, the terms of your severance, and any illegal or inappropriate behavior that goes on during that meeting. Now, I know that employment law varies by country, so I would encourage all of you to do a little bit of research about what's appropriate for your specific situation. So you take a breath and you focus. And it's not a conversation, so what do you say? You're supposed to be asking questions. Ask them to repeat something. Ask a clarifying question if you don't understand what they're saying. You can ask them to rephrase something. You can ask for something in writing. You can ask why you got fired. Why are you firing me? You can ask that. Is this a position elimination? Is it because I made a huge error? What is it? Clarifying questions. So then there are 2 more steps in this process, and the next is gathering your things. Now that's not applicable if you're remote, but if you're in the office, gather your things. Remember your phone charger and your keys. Everyone leaves their keys. And then the last thing, and this is the part that I stress, is that you should thank your employer. Thank you for the opportunity. Look that person in the eye, shake their hand, and say thank you for the opportunity. Even if you don't mean it. Even if it's a lie and you don't even care, thank you for the opportunity. Now, if you're a contractor or a vendor, the behavior is pretty much the same. You are going to be looking for the cause of the termination because that's going to impact your future business. Was there a breakdown in communication? Was there an issue with the product or the service delivery? I've had to fire vendors because my VP's brother's frat brother knew a guy who did the same service and we just had to let the first guy go. And that's it. So appreciate the work that you've done and say thank you. Why? Why behave like this? You're fired. Who cares? You don't work there anymore. Number 1 is because you are a decent human being. You're a decent human being, and decent human beings don't cuss, they don't shout, and they don't act childish. You were a professional when you started this job, and you should be a professional when you finish it. And the second reason is that your manager and HR are also decent human beings who are sometimes just conveying a message from senior management. And even if you think HR is evil or your manager hates you, they're doing their job, they're human beings, and it's business, not personal. It's very hard to understand business, not personal in the moment, and even for weeks and months afterwards, but it's very rare that I've seen an employee get fired because someone had a vendetta against them or someone was on a witch hunt. And even if that was the case and you got fired because of somebody else who fired you on purpose, wouldn't you want to find a new job anyway? So let's take another example of a term gone wrong and kind of analyze everything that he did wrong, which is a lot. So this is another true story. This employee, we'll call him Steve, and he's in my office. I just let him go. Standard procedure is for me to grab his bag and escort him out of the office. So Steve decides instead he's going to beg and plead for his job, which is error number 1. Remember, it's not a conversation. And then he panics. Error number 2, remember, you need to be breathing and focusing. Then he just sprints out the office. So I'm in my heels running, chasing him because he's my responsibility. And instead of gathering his things and thanking me or the manager, he decides to bust into the CEO's office during a meeting, begs him for the job, and then goes rogue. Steve's just like everywhere in the office, like, hey guys, I got fired. Hey guys, I got fired. Until we tracked him down and like got him out. So don't be like Steve. But another really important reason why you don't want to be like Steve is because for you, for your future. It's a selfish thing. You want to be professional even if you don't mean it for you. You want to have good terms with your previous employer or your previous vendor. You want that recommendation, you want that referral. You want that just employment verification. You don't want like your next job to keep calling and they don't even tell them that you worked there. You also want to maintain your network with your previous manager and coworkers because it's that pool of people that you're going to be going to find future work. And I know it's difficult to anticipate what she'll do in a situation like this. It's hard to know. How are you going to react? It's hard to know unless you're in that situation, right? So similar to how you're looking for emergency exits on an aircraft, you want to anticipate your behavior so you know what to do in an emergency or when the unexpected happens. So when that day comes and you're in that desk chair and you're getting fired, you already know your reaction and you do know how you'll behave. So take some time this week, think about how you would react in that situation so when the time comes, you react and you don't have to think about it. And trust me, it will do you wonders in the long run. And you can trust me because I'm Darth Vader. Thank you.